Hi, fourth grade. Here is another friendly math video to help you out with your homework or just to help you understand the material better. This video is about subtracting with fractions, and in class we've talked about two different methods, so I will be explaining how to do two different problems in two different ways. The first problem that we will do is 2 minus 5/8. One method that we talked about doing is where we take our whole number and we're basically going to regroup it and we're going to rewrite this as a mixed number. So if I were to draw a picture, I'm going to draw squares. I'm drawing two of them because 2 is my whole number. I'm going to look at the fraction I'm subtracting. I'm subtracting 8 eighths. So I'm going to divide these into eighths. I'm going to make them as equal pieces as possible. So another way of thinking of this number 2 is I can take one of the wholes away, in which case I just have one whole left, one whole, and I have 8 eighths. So I've just rewritten the number 2 as 1 and 8 eighths. Now this is the same thing as 2 because 8 eighths is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. And now I can subtract 5 eighths. So I'm going to subtract my fractions. 8 eighths minus 5 eighths. I'm going to do 8 minus 5 is 3. And then my denominator stays the same. And now I can do my whole number. I have 1 minus 0. There is no whole number for this one. 1 minus 0 is 1. One thing that a lot of people forget is to write the whole number when they're subtracting. They're so busy focused on the fraction they forget the whole number. So please don't forget that. Also remember when you're done, check your fraction and see if it needs to be simplified. 3 eighths, I can't simplify that because the only thing I can divide 3 by is 3 and I can't divide 8 by 3. So we're finished. So this is method 1. Now let's try method 2. In method 2, I'm going to take the whole number 2, and this time I'm going to rewrite it as an improper fraction. So 2, another way of thinking of the number 2 is to think of it, I can make it into a fraction by putting it over the number 1, giving it a denominator of 1. If I were to read this by using the fraction bar as the division symbol, then this would be 2 divided by 1. Well, 2 divided by 1 is 2. So this is another way of saying 2, and I want to rewrite this so I have a denominator of 8. You already know how to turn fractions into equivalent fractions, so if I want the denominator to be 8, I ask myself, what did I do to the 1 to make it become 8? I multiplied it by 8, so I will do the same thing to the numerator, and my answer is 16 eighths. A faster shortcut to this problem is if you're dealing with two wholes and you want it to be eighths. If you draw your picture, you can see it really clearly. We have 8 plus 8, there's 16. 16 eighths. You're basically taking your denominator and multiplying it by your whole number. So now, for this problem, I'm going to do 16 eighths minus 5 eighths. 16 minus 5 is 11. 8 stays as our denominator. Now here, I notice that I have a improper fraction. And so I can't leave my answer as an improper fraction. I must turn it into a mixed number. And so in order to do that, I'm going to use the division rule. So I'm going to do 11 divided by 8. So I will do that down here. 11 divided by 8 will give me one whole. Whoops. Then I will subtract 8. And I get 3 as my leftover, which you can barely see in the bottom there. So my remainder becomes my numerator and my denominator stays the same. It stays as 8. So you see either method we use will get the same answer, 1 and 3 eighths. Now let's try a different problem. Our next problem we're going to make a little bit more challenging. We're going to subtract 3 numbers, which you had in your homework recently. So we have 4 minus 2/3 minus 5/6. When you subtract, it's different than adding. You can't subtract in any order. You also can't subtract two numbers at a time. So we have to go in order, one at a time. So what I'm going to do is this part first, and I'm going to save this part for later. So right now, 4 minus 2/3. We know how to do that. So here's my first way of solving it, method 1. I'm going to turn 4 into a mixed number. So I'm going to take one whole away, so now I have 3 wholes, and I'm going to write the fraction with 3 as my denominator. So I could say that 4 wholes is the same thing as 3 3/3. And now I can subtract 2/3 from it. 3 minus 2 is 1. I keep my denominator as 3. And 3 minus 0 is 3. So far my answer is 3 1/3. Now I have to subtract the next part. So now I have 3 1/3 minus 5/6. This is where method 1 isn't always the best way, because now we have a tricky situation here. We need to change this so that the denominators are like denominators. So I know I can use 6 as my common denominator. So I'm going to turn 1/3 into 6. I have to multiply 3 by 2, so I'll multiply my numerator by 2. So now I have 3 2/6 minus 5/6. Well, I can't do 2 minus 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my mixed number into an improper fraction using the multiplication rule. 6 times 3 is 18, plus 2 is 20. I have 26 minus 5/6 equals 15/6. I have an improper fraction as my answer, so I'm going to use the division rule to rewrite it as a mixed number. Move this down so you can see it better. 15 divided by 6, I can do 2 whole groups of 6, which means I have 3 6 left over. I look at my answer right now, and I can simplify my fraction. I can divide the top and the bottom by 3, which gives me 1/2. So my final answer is going to be 2 1/2. Alright, this was method 1. It was a lot of work. It's not too difficult, but it is a lot of work and a lot of steps. You want to make sure that you're checking yourself as you go along, because there's lots of places where it's easy to accidentally make a mistake. Method 2, we are going to turn that 4 into an improper fraction. In this case, when you're subtracting with more than one number at a time, I really recommend sticking with method 2, because you're not going to have as much work to do later. So 4 is going to, I'm looking, and I can, I'll make it thirds first. And so if I want 4 to become a fraction with 3 on the bottom, I think I multiply 1 times 3 to make it become 3. So I'm going to do the same thing to the 4. So now I have 12/3. 12/3 minus 2/3 equals 10/3. So I have now just solved the first part of the problem. Now I need to subtract 5/6. So I have 10/3 minus 5/6. My denominators aren't the same. I look and I decide I'm going to use 6 as my common denominator, which means I need to turn this fraction into an equivalent fraction with 6 as the denominator. So I multiply 3 by 2, so I will do the same thing to the 10, which means I have 26. So now I have 26 minus 5/6 equals 15/6. Again, improper fraction. I am going to use a division rule to fix it. I also could look at this and think, I can divide 15 and 6 by 3. Maybe I want to simplify it first. If I divide the top and the bottom by 3, I'm still going to get an improper fraction. Now I have 5/2. So I still need to change this into a mixed number. So I'm going to do 5 divided by 2 over here. 2 can go into 5 2 whole times, and that gives me 1 left over. So I have 2 1/2 as my final answer, which was the same answer with method 1. Good luck doing your work. You might need scratch paper. Take as much room as you need. Don't go into the area for other problems because that's an easy way to make a mistake. Remember to always check your answer and see if you can simplify it or if you need to rewrite it as a mixed number. Good luck!